And like you can see, I am not a licensed speech therapist at all. I'm just a regular special education teacher that's trying to do the best for her students. So you don't need to be a speech therapist to include AAC devices and picture symbols in your classroom. All you need is to try. Hi teacher friends! So today I thought I would talk to you a little about core words and how I use them in my classroom. So let's start with, what are core words? Core words make up about 80% of the vocabulary that you use every day. So they're usually things like verbs, adjectives, prepositions, pronouns, articles, and conjunctions. How do you begin to implement core words in your classroom? So the first step is to introduce core words. In my classroom, I've collaborated with our speech therapist and we do our core words of the week, where we focus on a set of core words for the month and we implement them throughout our day through read alouds and different activities in our classroom. So our core words of the week this month are stop, on, and off. So these are core words that we try to use repeatedly over and over so that our students start to understand what they mean. The most engaging way that I found to implement this with my students is to adapt or read aloud. This is one that our speech therapist recommended. It's a great book. It talks about turning on a light and turning off a light. So we have this light switch here where we can show the students turn on and turn off. And as we read throughout the story, I've adapted it so that you can see that you turn off the light. So as we're reading, we can just point and say, turn off the light, turn on the light. We can even go as far to print these out and point to them so that they're bigger. And we can also put them on single message devices so that the students have a voice when they push it themselves. So let me show you how we do that. So if we have this icon, and all my icons are Velcroed on the back, our speech therapist taught us that hard goes, soft stays, so that the hard can go with you wherever you go. So this is Velcroed. So if we get to the point in the book where it says turn off that light, we can record our button. Off. And so now I can present this to a student and I can have them help me read. So I'll say turn, and they'll push off that light. So now they've helped me read the sentence and they've engaged, and the book is now more interactive. And as they are using their single message button to say off, I can also have someone turn the light from on to off. So that's one way that we can introduce core words, is to have core words of the week. And our speech therapist is amazing. We use the ULS curriculum. So our speech therapist asks us every month, what is the theme for the month? And then she chooses the core words that go best with that theme, and then tries to come up with suggestions and read alouds to go along with that theme. So I believe this theme for this month for ULS, it has something to do with light. So it was perfect to talk about lights and turning things on and off. So that way it fit with our ULS theme. So that's my number one suggestion, is to implement some kind of core word of the week and pair it with a read aloud or an activity. My second tip is to just model the core words. So simply just wear a core word board. I just printed out this core word board. It's one that our speech therapist came up with. And so as I'm saying the words, I'll just point to them as I say them. So that way the students understand that my words have meaning with pictures. Another way that I model is, our speech therapist had these printed out. She actually created this big core word board using Board Maker. And so we will just grab a core word off of the board that she made and use them with our single message or multiple message devices. Is it sunny or rainy? What's the weather like?
I don't see any more nimbus clouds.
Sunny. Who is here today? Are you here today?
I'm here today.
Are you here today?
I'm here today.
You're here today. Well, good job. We also have our iPads that have Go Talk Now, and some iPads have Proloquo Go, and that is what we also model in our classroom. So let me grab an iPad so I can show you. So we programmed this to go along with our drumming lesson, and it says the beat goes on. And so we programmed it in Go Talk Now, and when I model that, I just go,
the beat goes on.
the beat goes on. So now when we touch it, the voice output says the beat goes on. And there are different messages that we can record on the Go Talk Now app. I really like the Go Talk Now app because if we don't have any buttons, the single message device, the twin talk, the multiple message devices, we can always make a button on the go. That's what the beauty is of Go Talk Now. So like for instance, if I didn't have a button for the core word, let me see, all done. That's a common one that we use often in our classroom. So I could just create one on the iPad using the app quickly. Let's see, so I'll change the text to all done. Trying to show you here. And then add an image for all done. All done. And we'll choose this guy here that's saying all done. Or if I wanted the same picture as the ones that we use from BoardMaker, I could just take a picture of the BoardMaker one and use that as well. So let me see. Let me do that instead. Add image, take photo. Let me go take a photo so I can show you what I'm talking about. So if I didn't have enough photos or enough buttons to go around, I can go ahead and use the one that we already have. And now when a student goes to push that button,
all done.
it says all done. So now they can push
All
it
done.
and say all done. So it's a great way to make a button on the go, a great way to have a voice output system on the go. Another tip, so my third tip for implementing core words in your classroom is to have meaningful, engaging activities.
Once a month, our speech therapist plans a core word lesson for the whole class. It's always fun and engaging. This month, she planned a drumming lesson to go with the core word stop, on, and off.
Real silly. To different countries she would roam to learn about drums and bring them home. She loved to make the beat go on and on. Turn it on, says Rosie.
Turn it on!
Oh, okay. Yes, that's right.
Stop!
Stop!
Stop! Let's get some drums out. Let's play some drums and turn that music back on.
Are you playing it? Are you playing the
Do you love this?
Play more.
Play more drums!
People of Brazil make the beat go what?
On!
intricate patterns they did make, as Lily watched with eyes wide awake. The people of Egypt make the beat go
On. On. Good job. Oh, we turned it off.
The beat goes on.
The beat goes on.
Good job. So remember to practice your core words. On. Or on. And off. Or off. Okay, you get the difference between putting something on, taking something off. Put your shirt on, take your shirt off. Turn the music on, turn the music off. Right?
On and on.
But the beat goes on and on, everybody. Good job.
The beat goes on tip is just to provide repeated exposure. Not a speech therapist. I don't know all the ins and outs on AAC devices and where to assess and all the speech therapist things. I just know what is best for my students because our speech therapist has already done that work and she collaborates with me. So I hope that you have a strong relationship with your speech therapist because without that collaboration, it would be very hard to do any of the things that I do. So I get that question a lot, like how do you or why do you implement all the AAC devices and core words and picture symbols when you're not a therapist? And it's simply because if I didn't do any of this stuff, then my students would not have a voice. And I want my students to be heard in the best way possible because they are non-speaking and the only way they can advocate for themselves is if they have access to communication. So I guess that would be my bonus tip, is just to give your students access. Well, there are different ways to implement language and it doesn't have to be complicated. You don't have to go out and buy an iPad that's hundreds of dollars and install a program. There are also free apps for communication as well that you can just pull up on your phone. I know everyone has a phone. It can be as easy as printing out a core word board and just pointing to the core word as you speak. So yes, so those are my tips for implementing core words in your classroom, which were to do a core word of the week and adapt it to a read aloud or find a fun activity where you can use the core word over and over again. Introduce it on the AAC devices, so it could be low tech, such as a printout. It can be on a single message button. It can be a choice on a 2-button device. It can be high-tech option with the iPad and an app that allows you to do so. It could be any of those things. I think the best thing to do is just to get started. And something that my speech therapist told us and kind of stuck with us is it's good to model not knowing how to do something and then working through it and figuring it out because you're teaching your students those problem-solving skills as well. So I know sometimes the iPad apps can seem intimidating. I know that the single message devices can seem intimidating, but the more you practice, the more you model, the more you give your students access, the better you'll get over time. So definitely provide exposure to core words and picture symbols to your students, especially if they are non-speaking or beginning AAC users, because they can benefit so much. They learn the basic foundations of language, they learn how to socialize, they learn how to make choices, they become more engaged with the educational content that you're presenting. So it's just very inclusive for all. If you need any visual support, I have a freebie. I'll link it in the description below, but I have a core word board and a core word planning guide that's already made for you that has a core word of the week for the 38 weeks that we are in school, and I give you a suggested text that you can adapt and pair with the core word, and a suggested activity that you can try with the core word to make it fun and engaging for your students. So I've taken all that hard work out for you so that you can try it with your students and hopefully build language in your classroom. And like you can see, I am not a licensed speech therapist at all. I'm just a regular special education teacher that's trying to do the best for her students. So you don't need to be a speech therapist to include AAC devices and picture symbols in your classroom. All you need is to try and implement these strategies in your own classroom so that your students can grasp it and learn it and become engaged and involved. So I hope this video helped, and I hope I wasn't just rambling on. I hope you implement core words in your classroom, or if you already do, let me know how that's going. Let me know your tips and tricks and how you implement them in your classroom. And yeah, until next time, bye.